For thousands of years, humanity searched the skies for answers. In the stars, the sun, the moon, and the myths that shaped civilizations. But what if the stories we've been told are only half the truth? Here on Unmasking the Gods, we explore the hidden patterns of myth, religion, and the cosmos, uncovering the wisdom our ancestors left behind. If you're ready to see beyond the veil like this video, subscribe and join us each week as we continue unmasking the gods. The sacred cycles of time. Where does time come from? Today we look at clocks, calendars, and the relentless ticking of seconds and minutes. Time feels mechanical, impersonal, endless. But for most of human history, time was not measured by machines. It was measured by the sky, the rising and setting of the sun, the waxing and waning of the moon, the turning of the seasons. These were not just natural events, they were sacred cycles. They gave rhythm to life, meaning to ritual, and structure to religion. Time itself was divine, a living pattern written in the heavens. This is the story of the sacred cycles of time, how humanity turned the movements of the cosmos into rituals of renewal, festivals of light, and philosophies of eternity. Solstices and equinoxes, the cosmic hinges of the year. 4 times each year, the sun reaches a turning point. Twice it stands still at the solstice, once in winter, once in summer. Twice it crosses the middle point of balance at the equinox, once in spring, once in autumn. These were the great hinges of time, the moments when the cosmos itself seemed to pause. At the winter solstice, the longest night, humanity faced darkness at its peak, yet even here was hope. For after this night, light would grow again. Cultures across the world marked this moment with fire, candles, and festivals of rebirth. In Rome, Saturnalia celebrated with feasts, gift-giving, and a reversal of social order. Later, the festival of Sol Invictus, the unconquered sun, declared December 25th the rebirth of the eternal light. Christianity placed the birth of Christ here, the divine child of light emerging in the darkest night. In the Middle East, Persians marked Yalda night, gathering to eat pomegranates and recite poetry as they awaited the rebirth of the sun. In Jewish tradition, Hanukkah, the festival of lights, falls near this season, celebrating light enduring in darkness. In China, the Dongji festival marked the balance of yin and yang, a turning point from decline to renewal. In Northern Europe, Yule was kept with evergreen trees, logs burning, and candles flickering against the frozen dark. If the winter solstice was death and rebirth, the spring equinox was resurrection. At this moment, day and night stood equal, and life returned to the earth. Fields were planted, lambs were born, festivals celebrated fertility and renewal. The Babylonians and Persians marked Nowruz, their new year, with cleansing fires and rituals of rebirth. In Greece, myths of Persephone returning from the underworld echoed the renewal of spring. In Christianity, Easter was set by this moment, the first Sunday after the first full moon following the equinox. The resurrection of Christ mirrored the resurrection of the earth. The summer solstice was light at its zenith, the longest day. Fire festivals blazed across Europe. Midsummer dances circled maypoles, wreaths crowned heads, and bonfires leapt into the sky. In Slavic lands, Kupala night joined fire and water, young women floating wreaths down rivers, young men leaping flames. In the Andes, the Inca celebrated Inti Raymi, the festival of the sun, renewing their devotion to Inti, the great giver of life. The autumn equinox was balance again, but this time tipping toward decline. Harvest was gathered, barns filled, grapes pressed into wine. It was a season of gratitude and preparation for winter. In Jewish tradition, Sukkot was celebrated at this time, a harvest festival of booths and thanksgiving. In China, the Mid-Autumn Festival marked reunion, mooncakes shared beneath the full harvest moon. In Celtic lands, this was a time of thanksgiving and feasting, later remembered as Mabon. Together, solstices and equinoxes mapped the eternal cycle of light and dark, growth and decline. They were the cosmic punctuation marks of the year, the hinges on which all sacred time turned. festivals of the seasons, celebrating cosmic rhythm. The solstices and equinoxes were the backbone, but between them lay other festivals, each tied to the rhythms of life and the needs of survival. In the Celtic world, 4 great cross-quarter festivals filled the calendar. Imbolc in February marked the first lambing, the stirring of spring. Fires were lit to honor Brigid, goddess of poetry and craft. Beltane in May celebrated fertility with bonfires and maypoles, cattle driven between flames for blessing. Lugnasad in August honored Lugh, god of skill, with the first harvest of grain and bread. And Samhain in November marked the final harvest, the thinning of the veil between worlds, the time of ancestors, later absorbed into All Saints' Day and Halloween. In Rome, Saturnalia in December turned order upside down. Slaves served as masters, candles burned in every home. In India, Holi, the festival of colors, marked the victory of spring over winter, with bonfires and joyous chaos. Diwali, the festival of lights, celebrated victory over darkness with lamps and fireworks. In every culture, festivals embodied cosmic rhythm. They were not merely holidays. They were rituals of survival, gratitude, renewal, and communion with the divine order of time. The moon and sacred months. If the sun ruled the year, the moon ruled the month. Her phases marked beginnings and endings, new moons for renewal, full moons for celebration. Judaism sanctified the new moon with Rosh Chodesh, a festival with special observances for women. Passover fell on the full moon of Nisan, Sukkot on the full moon of Tishrei. Islam built its entire calendar on the moon, each month beginning with the sighting of the crescent. Ramadan, the sacred month of fasting, moves through the seasons, a reminder that divine time is not bound to harvests but to heaven. In Christianity, Easter is determined by the moon. Marian imagery often shows the Virgin standing upon the crescent, echoing Revelation's vision of the woman clothed with the sun, the moon beneath her feet. In Hinduism, lunar days mark fasts and feasts. Ekadash fasts, Karva Chauth for marriage, Sharad Purnima for harvest blessings. In Buddhism, full moons mark Uposatha observances and the great Vesak festival, celebrating the Buddha's enlightenment. In East Asia, the Mid-Autumn festival falls on the full moon of the 8th month, a time of reunion and gratitude. The moon kept sacred time. Where the sun marked cosmic order, the moon marked intimate rhythm, the pulse of months, the tides of emotion, the cycles of the body. Eternal return. The philosophy of sacred time. For ancient people, time was not a straight line. It was a circle. The cycle of seasons, the return of solstices, the phases of the moon, all taught that death was never the end. Winter was followed by spring, night by day, waning by waxing. Festivals were not commemorations of past events. They were reenactments, re-entries into eternal truths. To celebrate a solstice, an equinox, or a feast was to step out of ordinary time and into eternity. This was the philosophy of the eternal return. Life, death, and rebirth were not unique events but patterns woven into the cosmos. Osiris was slain and risen each year with the crops. Persephone descended and returned with the seasons. Christ died and rose again, not only once but eternally mirrored in every Easter sunrise. Sacred time was myth made real, eternity breaking into days and months. Sacred time versus modern time. Today, we live by mechanical time. Seconds tick, minutes pass, schedules press forward. Time feels linear, endless, and empty. But the ancients knew another kind of time. Sacred time was qualitative, not quantitative. Some days were holy, some nights were thresholds. Festivals were not ordinary dates. They were doors into mystery. To lose sacred time is to lose rhythm. Yet in our modern world, people seek it again. Pilgrims still gather at Stonehenge for solstice sunrise. Families still light candles at Christmas, Hanukkah, and Diwali. Fasts of Ramadan still shape days and nights by heaven's rhythm. New Age seekers still mark full moons with ritual. We return, in fragments, to the cycles that once defined us. The cycles of time in the soul. The sacred cycles of time are not only in the heavens, they are in us. We are born, we grow, we flourish, we decline, and we die. And yet, within us too, there is renewal. Youth is spring, maturity summer, age autumn, death winter. The rhythms of life mirror the rhythms of the cosmos. Birthdays, anniversaries, New Year's. These are personal festivals, echoes of the eternal return. We live by cycles, whether we notice or not. To honor them is to remember that our lives are part of a greater pattern. So why did the ancients make time sacred? Because they knew what we have forgotten, that time is not empty, it is filled with meaning. Each solstice, each equinox, each full moon was a revelation, a reminder that life is rhythm, that death is renewal, that darkness yields to light. Sacred time was not measured by seconds. It was measured by eternity. And though our modern calendars may reduce time to numbers, the cycles remain. The sun still stands still at the solstice. The moon still waxes and wanes. Festivals still keep returning with light, fire, bread, and song. The sacred cycles of time are the story of eternity written in days and seasons. They remind us that we are not separate from the cosmos, but participants in its rhythm. For as long as the sun rises and the moon returns, humanity will continue to find eternity in the turning of time.